like 3/4 full room. It's fun. Nice. Okay. So we are starting off with Grant from Cafe Mela is here. It's kind of a coffee researcher is his title, which sounds like the kind of thing I've ever heard of. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, if you want to come up and kind of talk about what you have, that would be great.
For sure.
And I will turn this around so people can see you.
Like a good day to bring in the highly caffeinated realtor, like joke.
Coffee or highly caffeinated realtor.
Can everyone hear me? This is interesting being on Zoom.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
I can, I'll minus yourself so you don't have to see yourself.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, they
That's
can.
great. So my name is Grant. Thank you so much for taking the time. This is just kind of like a fun product that I created with another realtor friend. And again, we're like a local business in town, so we roast all our coffee and we believe in the community. And what we just came up with a few different ideas. So we have 2 different gift baskets, and we just tried to make like a nice welcome home gift if you've never been to our cafe or you've been there 1,000 times. We just kind of wanted to create a nice, easy like gift experience for people. So in here we have Sage Hills. So I kind of built it off all like using local landmark coffee. So Sage Hills, and then we actually have custom K-cups that we use really high quality coffee. And then 2 mugs, as well as just like a lanyard, a free drink to our cafe card, and then like a sticker. And then that's just one option. And then the other one, it just is like 3 beans. So it's like our school chuck roast, our Saddle Rock, and then our Mission Ridge that we did a custom blend for Mission Ridge, which was a ton of fun. And then this one has 2 K-cups, and then a drink card, and then a lanyard and a sticker. And we made it like super easy. I wish I could stream like on here, but I made a QR code, which is super nice. Like, so one thing we're doing this with Premier One, and they have a few in their office, so they can just scan it and say, I took this one or this one, and then we can send you an invoice. It's pretty simple, like process, like to make it, because like there's those last minute purchases, you know?
Yeah.
So I mean, you guys are in it more than I am, but yeah. So that's just kind of like the idea of why we wanted to do this. We just wanted to create like a great welcome gift and see if like people took an interest in it. So yeah. Any questions or thoughts or Grant, yeah.
Grant, I'm Russ.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. How would you feel about us also using your cups and co-branding it with our name in the cup also?
Oh, like on the back of like here?
Yeah, like co-branded.
Yeah.
We have the cups made where it says Cafe Mela and whatever real estate broker.
Totally. Yeah. We would love to do something like that. So if that's something you wanted to do, we're totally open to doing something like that. Because it's like a lasting thing. Like you have it in your home, and so yeah.
I've always said that, you know, you give someone chocolate, they love you for about 3 minutes. You give someone like a Cutco knife as an example of something I've done in the past where it's utilitarian, you have it engraved.
Yeah.
Something like a coffee cup, a nice coffee cup that they'll use.
Totally.
And then it hangs around.
Yeah.
Top of mind awareness.
Do you know, like, would that be like particular to like each realtor or just like the office, do you think?
Probably, they're all individual independent contractors, so depending on their commitment level, their desire, I mean, we have the brokerage that everybody's under.
Sure.
And then they all have individual businesses too, so it depends on their own marketing budget.
Yeah.
If we went, you know, if there was more than one, we go together, obviously we'd probably bring costs down in production.
Absolutely. I was just gonna say we could figure out a way of how to go about that.
Sure.
But
Great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm open to suggestions. Obviously this was just something I put together.
I got a referral gift. It was like just like the mug with the thing, and then on the bottom was a round sticker that was like a super high quality like vinyl sticker that stayed on in like the wash and stuff, and it had like the realtor's like name and number and like logo and stuff. So I mean that could be like
Cost effective.
you know,
Slap a sticker on the bottom of it.
yeah,
Definitely.
like if it fit between like the ridge, you know, as long as it was like flush, I think it would stick pretty well even in the dishwasher.
Totally. So just be like on the bottom of the mug, or there's like side on the space too, depending on.
Yeah, I mean, this one's less easy.
Yeah, it's starting to bubble, but
Yeah. Okay, that's a great idea. I would love to connect with you guys on doing something like that.
I have a question about cost.
Sure.
Yeah, what are these guys running?
Yeah, so, no, that's a great question. I wanted to leave it a mystery. So this one is 50
Okay.
and then this one is 75.
Okay.
Just because there's more coffee in that one. So,
Makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions or thoughts or?
We'll buy both of those today that you have right there for $100.
Could you buy both of them right there for $100? I could probably,
Just today. only.
just today
So I
only.
can give them away to people that are here.
Oh, there we go. I don't see why not. Yeah, I could get your contact info, yeah.
All right, so we're gonna have a little giveaway today. People on Zoom, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'll just get your contact info and then I could send it. Okay.
She's the money back.
I just have
Oh,
two.
thank you.
Mentioned that a few seconds ago.
There goes my
Does anyone else have a higher bidder? What is your, do we?
I love this idea. I love, the idea of having it like at the office and we just like, pay for it when we grab it. I have thought of like maybe leaving it not secured
Oh, sure.
on top.
Like this?
Like I usually do like a bottle of champagne, so I could like settle a bottle of champagne
Oh,
in
sick.
there and then like, cause it looks like there's room,
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So like, don't, or like just lightly tie it, so I could like add something. I
Totally.
think that would be a good, like, add some customization for depending on the client.
Yeah.
yeah, let me write that
Don't
down.
tie 'em down too tight.
I know sometimes it's gonna
Put it
be,
in there.
because I think that would be really awesome because you're the one who's gonna get to know your client. So you could add that personal touch to it, like if there's something, like a bottle of champagne,
And add your vinyl sticker.
then add your vinyl
Yeah,
sticker.
exactly. Totally.
Yeah, I'm super open to creating something that works really well for you guys. Whether that's like leaving those open or doing like a print, because we could do a print on the mugs too. The mugs aren't like super expensive to make. So, or the sticker, if the sticker is something you guys want to do on your own cost. But I'm open to figuring out what would work best for you guys. So,
I'm curious if I can have your QR code thing and put it in front of,
sure.
I'm
Well,
curious.
And you should
But
take
if
a
you,
picture and put it on the notes too.
yeah, I'll take a picture or.
You guys can have that. It's not live and active. When you scan it, it will say, this is just an example, so you can't place an order yet on it. But
Kathy, you should try it out for me. I'm so curious. Do a little, or somebody.
Yeah, you said it's not, the QR doesn't work yet.
well, I mean, it works. It's just an
Oh, is it
example.
the,
Yeah, I don't know if I can stream, but here's kind of what it looks like. I made it red for your guys' colors. And then here's like the picture of each
Thanks,
basket.
Michael.
And you can choose how many baskets you want to place. Did you want to pick it up at our cafe or did you want to pick it up here? And then I can send an invoice through phone number or email, which one you prefer. And then if you had any questions, you could submit to it. Yeah.
Oh,
Just look good.
well, it works.
It works, but you can tell in front of the-
Show me. Thanks so much.
What kind of turnaround time if there wasn't any at the office and I was like, oh my gosh, we're closing in 2 days?
Oh, let's see,
turn time for it leave?
like a day max, like a day or two, like max.
Usually plan.
Yeah, that's a good
Getting
question.
a late gift.
Yeah.
But how we were doing it in the past was like, with Premier One, like I would just always keep two, or I would always kept 4 on hand of each, or so 2 of 2, so total of 4. And then they would scan and then let me know which ones they picked, and then I would drop off another one. But if there was like a last minute one, you can always like pick one up, or send an email and pick it up at the cafe. So.
Yeah, I love coffee. This is good.
Yeah.
Great job on the
Oh,
coffee. It's always delicious.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We try to do a really good job. I mean, we really believe in our product and creating.
If they hired a coffee researcher, then I would think.
Yeah.
I love that type. I think that's great.
I totally forgot, just because there's some craziness happening down on the avenue. I'll bring in like a little free, a few free drink cards, just so you guys can, just for your time, just to say thank you. And if you guys want to take a client, come to our cafe. So, yeah, so I'll leave them here. I'll be back at some point today to drop them off.
You need a change of scenery from the office. I love working there.
Yeah,
Yeah, same.
great place for
Bye.
community together. So thank you so much. I
Yeah.
appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks.
Hey, thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Made a
Have a great
sale.
night. Thank you, Nicole.
It's
Thank
great.
you guys.
Sweet. Let's see, I think I have a mic.
Well, I'm not connected then. Yes, you're the instigator. Yeah.
Oh, and my
He
Paul-
pushed me for the
Paul
basket.
Foltz is ready again, so he's gonna reach out to you.
It's a great alternative.
I know. I make my own basket sometimes. It's so time consuming.
Yeah.
And also like closing gifts are like so stressful.
Yeah, I can just fucking do.
I try to customize it.
I
so
went
much.
to Target once for like an hour and I was like, okay, I'm gonna make this gift basket and everything's gonna be wonderful. And then I just got stressed out and I was like, can't do it. I just buy gift cards. Yeah, I
Brady
can't.
in Leavenworth, you can get a basket from Cheesemongers and they put all sorts of stuff in there.
But
and
like,
it's
is it?
amazing.
Cheese
You
and
get
coke,
cookies, you get
darn,
beans, you
like
get
that.
beers, you get wine, they put anything in the store in there.
You just give them all the goods, they fill it
Yeah,
up for
yep,
50 bucks.
$150, $200. Usually I get a nice big basket.
Cheese
And
makes
I
everyone
saw
happy. Instagram total thing, but this lady like bought their like closing gift, like a giant grill and stuff. I was like, okay, not my budget. Nope.
Michael, do you wanna say some things?
Yeah, let's say some things. All right, so Kelly mentioned that she wanted me to kind of address VA buyers able to sell, or if they're able to pay for real estate commissions. So I have a chart here basically just going over the 4 main loan types on what you are and are not allowed to do. Basically for conventional and FHA products, if it's customary that a buyer can pay for, if it happens, then it's allowed. So basically with FHA conventional, it's fine. The only stipulation is that it really can't be included in the loan. No loan, none of the loan amount can apply towards that. But otherwise you're good to go. I mean, the buyer can pay it, no problem. The biggest difference is VA. The VA does not allow any buyers to pay any real estate commissions. So that would be the only time in which you'd have to get a little creative, whether you stack that into the price and had it come back, as far as the seller paying it. That would be one way that you potentially could do that. And so on. So that would be really, that's it. The VA is the only one. The rest of them are fine. Any questions on that at all? It's kind of straightforward, to be honest.
Yes,
So,
so
you go first.
if with FHA and conventional, if they can't use the loan funds, then does that commission come out of like the cash the buyer brings to closing?
Yep, exactly.
Okay,
Exactly how
and
it works.
then with the VA, you could get paid with a seller paid closing costs?
Yep,
Okay,
just stack it.
Question if.
yeah.
Yeah,
Or
you-
wrap it into a loan and then do the closing costs to cover the difference or whatever.
So all
Yeah.
of them
Or-
get paid. so-
The only thing, and I'm gonna check on this, that's kind of a gray area, because if you stack the price and then they pick it back, if you had a really strict underwriter, they might come back and say, is that part of the 4% rule that VA has for them paying some fees? But the biggest thing would just be, I don't really know how they would know that. So it's never come up before on a VA loan that we've had. Just something to maybe consider. Sometimes there are interested party contribution limits. And really, it really happens in the non-conforming world more, like jumbo. That's where some of that can really have an effect, where if the seller's paying X dollars, that could be part of interested party contributions and take away from what the buyer could get for closing costs. Don't think you're gonna have to worry about that for a conforming loan like USDA, VA, FHA conventional. But for brokered products and jumbo, they all have some really weird rules. So it'll just depend on, and those are like DSCR loans, bank statement loans, fix and flips, things like that. So they're really outside the box. That's where you could see this a little bit more, but you would have seen that before the NAR settlement anyways. But now this has just brought a little more light to it. So the only one is VA. And if the seller was like, absolutely, I'm not paying any commission to the borrower's agent, the VA can't. So then we have to go back to the drawing board on how we can get that done. And usually the best course is to stack it into the price if the veteran has no money. And then just kind of hope it appraises. If it doesn't appraise, then that's a whole nother issue.
So you can't just, to clarify, so you can't just have, seller credit of blank, amount or percentage that can't be used towards the commission if we word it as just seller concessions.
No, you could have the seller pay for that, absolutely. But then if you worded it as that, where it's seller contributions towards buyer's agent, that will count against it.
So we just use the financing form and the,
So we just change
Standard verbiage.
the wording just to say seller credit of whatever percentage on the financing addendum, and that can go towards commission.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, so it's just verbiage.
Yep,
Is it-
verbiage. And
Yeah,
if you
so
didn't
we
want
just
that,
outside-
let's say it's been sitting on the market for a while and you're like, I don't really want to try, let's try and do this. Well, first off, let's hope you can get the commission, but if you can't, because we're assuming that, maybe you stack the price, have the seller just cover it at that point, and then ask for closing costs on top, and that would keep the two separate. But the moment you put the verbiage that this is seller interested party contributions towards buyer's agent, then that's where you're going to get into, it's going to eat up the amount that the buyer is able to get from the seller if they were going to offer anything more. So exactly what you said, it would be all based on verbiage and how the deal structure from the get-go. I would always err on the side of at least trying to stack the closing costs first and then get more, or stack the buyer's agent first and then try after the fact if it doesn't appraise, because you can always adjust it downwards at that point. Usually, and this is where appraisers are like, they're historians like Russ likes to say, and they're not always perfect. If you're within that $10,000 to $15,000 of the purchase price, man, you got to be a really good appraiser to get it, within that 5, 10, whatever range. So normally we've seen that come back just fine. We very rarely have low appraisals, especially as the markets continue to heat up. So just something to consider.
Great.
And then actually you had a question on manufactured homes. Did you want to talk about that real quick?
Yeah, so I know I had a deal in the past with a just double wide manufactured home, and it had the like porch attached to the roof, and it was an FHA loan. I know they don't really like that. But I was talking to an agent yesterday because she was thinking there was something that closed recently with a conventional loan where it did have that, overhang attached to it. And she was thinking that conventional doesn't care. So that was kind of my clarifying question. If conventional cares.
Well, at the end of the day, when it comes to manufactured homes, it's all in what the underwriter sees and the appraiser sees. If the appraiser misses something and the underwriter misses something, it goes through and it can close. Now, case in point, a manufactured home cannot have been moved more than one time for conventional FHA or USDA products. VA does allow it, you just have to have a foundation certificate and some other things. So I just ran into this and I had somebody look it up because these buyers didn't actually know and the sellers didn't know if the home had been moved ever. So we dove into it. I talked to an appraiser, I talked to a bunch of people, and they said basically if the marriage line has been broken, the marriage joint, that's when two manufactured homes, this is in a double wide, but triple wides have it too. Manufactured homes are put together. That joint is called the marriage line. That's been broken, or there's proof of it been broken, it's done. But that's not to say if it was done very, very well and moved extremely carefully and then joined together again, and it's not blatantly obvious to the underwriter or the appraiser, that doesn't mean that couldn't slip through. What won't slip through is going to be an addition to the property, which I know that has happened around the Wenatchee area quite a few times. Like a straight up, they're adding square footage to the property. The other one is drilling into the side when it comes to front porches and such. Whether or not that passed and appraisers, maybe they just didn't look, they didn't see, maybe they were tired that day, whatever. Technically, it's not allowed to be drilled permanently affixed to the property. And if it is, it shouldn't be going through, but that's not to say that it can't sometimes sneak through. The other thing to consider is that when you put walls up inside or you remodel a manufactured home, again, just because it gets through doesn't mean it's allowed and you shouldn't address it. Because usually when you do any renovations, big ones, I'm not talking like painting the cabinets or stuff like that, but the reason they do that is L&I has to get involved because there's weight limits on how much you can put into a manufactured home, and how much they'll support, and L&I just needs to sign off on everything. They'll sign off on garages, they'll sign off on additions, they'll sign off on all things so long it was permitted and done correctly. But it's when people take it into their own hands, do it, and then hope for the best, and then it, like I said, it may or may squeeze through, but it shouldn't, and I wouldn't risk potentially entering into a contract with somebody knowing that there's been stuff done, because it could very, very easily backfire. Long-winded answer, but does that make sense?
Could you bring in an L&I inspector to get all that stuff inspected and passed up on before? Okay,
And this happened, gosh, this was a few years ago. We had a client, and this just shows different underwriters have different things. We got the appraisal back, and there was an AC unit in the window, and the appraiser calls for it and says, hey, we need an L&I inspection for that window unit because it looks like it's permanently affixed. So the L&I inspector goes out and goes, the hell is that? This is a window unit AC. It's not permanently affixed to the property at all. This is ridiculous. And then he left. We told them what they said, and then they were like, oh, okay, we just wanted to make sure. So again, it just comes down to the underwriter. But absolutely, you can bring an L&I inspector. We have the name and number of them. Go and get it done. It's not that hard. It will, if you decide to do the work under the table and then go back and try and get an L&I inspection, there could be stuff that was missed and needed to be done on top of it. But you can always go, you can backtrack and get stuff L&I approved. There's no guarantee, but it's something you can go do for sure.
Well, I was looking on L&I's website the other day. They have a section for manufactured homes that talks about what they'll need a permit for. They range between like $150 and $210. Even if like somebody replaces a water heater, they want, like L&I wants to go inspect. Like there's some weird things that they're specific about, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that we've done in the past is assisted with title elimination. I think Vanessa's there. She might have a little more experience with that too, but we can go back and forth on if you have a property that's there and set up, but it just hasn't had the title eliminated. We've gone through the process to get it eliminated and then closed on the house as well. So it's not something you can't do, but it's just a matter of if you're willing to go down that rabbit hole, and if you're working with the right people, the right title company and stuff, they can make it really easy.
So haven't more lenders been requiring that be eliminated prior to the finalization of the closing?
Absolutely. Oh yeah, it definitely has to be eliminated before. But
there are some lenders that want to do it in-house, and so they allow it to close, but they're in control of the documents of the elimination. But
yeah.
Most lenders are requiring that it be done before. So it's kind of a decision, isn't it, for the listing agent to decide whether it's something they need to pursue for marketing purposes? Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and if I was a listing agent, I mean, it depends on the price range you're playing with, but I mean, why would you not want to open up your buyer pool substantially by eliminating the title? Because, at that point, the property is worth more, everything's been done, unless it's a very unique property and things happen, a lot of people can pay cash for stuff like that and do it themselves. But if you have the time, it doesn't take that much time. We've done it before, but it just comes down to whether or not you want to move forward. But yeah, there's a lot of good resources out there. And like Ashley said, L&I website does have some idea of what you would need permits for manufactured homes, but it's a good rule of thumb. Don't drill into the side and don't add on to anything. And don't potentially even add walls unless you consult with L&I first, or else you're just going to have to backtrack if it gets caught. So
Any other questions? Any Zoom with questions?
Nice to see you, Michael.
yeah, it has. I'll be in, I think, next week. So
Michael, nice mount behind you.
like that. Oh, wait, right there. Not there's the bow that took it. So
Somebody. European mount.
yeah,
Congratulations. Thank
nice.
you.
Thanks again.
Absolutely.
On the conditional.
You guys got a piece of paper, which I assume put your name on? Does
No,
anybody?
it's
need-
got a number on it.
Huh. Okay. Oh, I see what's happening. Okay, I figured it out. All right, sweet. Russ, do you want to say some things?
I'm gonna say a lot.
Are you putting on a timer for him?
Oh, I love when I do this. How many minutes do you want?
Aaron, would you mind picking a number out of that? We're blindfolded, hands behind your back, upside down, don't look. Yeah, and this is because I wanted to thank you. Normally I'm tight these days with money because money's harder to come by. And a potential flux of a market. So I gotta be very careful because I want us to stay in business for a long time. And I want to fuel up, like I said last week, I want to take expenses and move them to investments. I don't mind investing money. We have money. I can get more money. But I don't want to waste money. And when you're shifting a market, it's important to understand where your money's going and what you're getting for it. So this, I want to thank you because I believe that you guys that are, and I know there's people all over the place and it's hard to come down and I get that. But I think you get so much more out of a class in person if possible. Much better to watch it on Zoom than not at all, hopefully, and much better to watch it in the reruns, like the old days, than not at all also. And it's important because it's in your best interest as we move forward. We're gonna be making some policy changes. These policy changes are starting because of a lot of things, shifting of the interest rates, shifting of the buyer pool, shifting of the supply, and obviously the NAR settlement. So there's gonna be some kind of reality checks on it, and I'm gonna go over that today. So what it really means is that if you're a professional and you want higher standards in this industry, you're gonna be at the right place, because that's what we're doing. We're gonna raise everybody's standards over a period of time. And it's not like we were doing things wrong or bad or, anything like that. It's just that I can tell you guys, not to tell you how old I am, but 34 years later, I remember when I figured out a fax machine for the first time, and then they told me I had to learn this thing called a PDF, and I was like, what the hell is a PDF? My point is everything changes. This industry has always changed. Skip it's never the same as a Skip. Yes, sir. Never the same. I mean, when we started 1 page for every contingency and the price and the terms, and we all represented the seller, even though we were the brother to the buyer. There was no such thing as a buyer's broker. It didn't exist. So, try to imagine going from that to, I think cash flow is now like 35 pages with no contingency. So you can see just how this business evolves. So like in any change,
letting him tell
Yeah,
the number?
yeah. That's why I did it. I just want you guys to know how much I appreciate that. So it's cool that people are here. It's a great job getting them here. So let's see who Aaron picks and.
Which one are we giving away?
You decide. You're involved.
Let's do this one first. Save the good one for last, make you stay here the whole time.
Yeah, number 4.
Who's number 4?
Yeah, you can get in the way.
Oh.
Do you need proof of my number 4?
No, I thought, yeah.
Okay, one more time.
We'll do the next one at the end.
Okay, let's, I don't want to hold them forever, so there's gonna be a time. I want to know how long you guys want me to talk today. Because, here's the game plan. Moving forward in May, you'll see this in an email if you haven't already. The first Tuesday of the month, moving forward of each month, I'm gonna put on like a long seminar, like an hour, 2 hours, once a month. Then we're not gonna have, we're gonna have contracts class that day here. But that's kind of in lieu of the Roundup sales rally, right? Second Tuesday, there's no sales rally or Roundup, but there is gonna be a contracts class on Zoom. Third Tuesday, there's gonna be a Roundup and a shorter educational type talk, whether it's me or Skip or Aaron or Kelly or Sydney or somebody from out of town. We're gonna bring some value as we change and we shift and we move. So then the fourth weekend, before Tuesday, we're just gonna have contracts via Zoom. The third weekend, by the way, Marcia will be down here in person. So the first and the third, Marcia will be here in person. And then the second and fourth, her contract class will be on Zoom. And the reason for this is because, hey man, you're all self-employed. And if you're not getting value, you should be out selling real estate. Because believe it or not, you gotta stir the soup more than we've had to stir the soup in the last 15 years. That's the good news, because there's a lot of people that aren't gonna stir the soup. They're gonna go out of business. They're losing so slowly, they think they're winning, and they're not winning. I can see it in the numbers. That's good. That means the people that wanna win, wanna be professional, wanna kick ass, it's your time. It's time to separate yourself from the herd. And everybody that is in this brokerage has the ability to do that, the capability to do that. Now, some of us maybe are, including me, are like, what in the hell has happened? What does all this mean? There's only 27,000 podcasts you can listen to that tell you 27,000 different things about what's happening with the NAR settlement, in the industry, the inventory, the interest rates. So it's confusing. That doesn't mean you're not capable because you're kind of wondering what's happening. That's just a shift. The guy that brought you to the dance, or girl, isn't necessarily the guy or girl's gonna take you home. Sometimes things change. You know what I mean? Sometimes you have two sets of pictures in a small school. Never mind, that's another story. Too much information. All right, so how long do you want me to talk today? Half hour, 10 minutes, 2 minutes,
11:30 right now.
25 minutes.
20 minutes, 12?
Yeah, about 25 minutes.
All right. So what I wanted to talk about, I sent you an email today, you should have got it, or it's going if it hasn't been.
It's already been
There's
out.
two attachments. One's the NAR frequently asked questions. It just came out on the 5th of April. So it should be fairly updated. The other one is this that I put together, which is just kind of an outline of ways of looking at our business. In a nutshell, we're gonna go from what I used to really like, and that's winging it. I always felt like I had a competitive advantage because one of our agents told me I talked too much. I said, "What? Really?" And no, I'm just kidding. So when you wing it, it's the gift of gab, right? It works. Not even doesn't. You need to have that, plus if you have that, you can be yourself, be you times two, but be organized. Take some time. The buyer consults are gonna take longer. The seller listing consults are gonna take longer. I would say up to a couple hours potentially, depending on the client. Because when you articulate your value, they will now understand how this all works. This all meaning about the commission. So as you guys probably know, and we haven't got the official word from Northwest MLS, but my gut feeling is they're not gonna post commissions. I think they're gonna follow suit. They don't have to because they're an independent nonprofit company. The lawsuit talks specifically about association of realtor-owned MLSs. However, if you do not follow the terms of the settlement, you're not covered by the settlement. There's a lot more lawsuits out there. There's like 9 or 10 or 11 or 12 more. There's more copycat lawsuits. There's buyer side lawsuits. The original lawsuit out of Missouri was a seller side lawsuit. Does everybody know what I'm talking about, first of all? I wanna make sure.
Don't we have a lawsuit right now about the fact that we were getting in trouble for not sharing?
The Department of Justice, won a lawsuit against the Realtor Association, said you have to be transparent and you have to tell the whole commission story.
Yeah.
The DOJ, Department of Justice, is why they have said in a class action lawsuit, they have to get it approved by a judge. And it's even in a settlement, where if you and I sue each other, we can just settle. But a class action lawsuit, the Department of Justice is gonna weigh in because they're like, wait a minute, we made them disclose. So, but it's on appeal. So it's like marijuana, federally illegal, states legal. Conflict of interest a little bit. So who knows exactly? But let's think about it this way. Let's try, and believe me, I was the first guy to go, oh, I don't like change. Let's try to be open-minded for a minute. Let's try to think about how can we use this as an opportunity to separate ourselves from our competition. In commercial real estate, the commissions really, there's hardly ever even an MLS. I mean, there's kind of one now, I guess, depending on where you live. But buyer brokerages, the buyer brokers, that's not really disclosed that often. They have a client, they articulate a value proposition to that buyer, the buyer signs an agreement. And then they go present an offer for that buyer, and that buyer, then there's a commission demand in that agreement. It's kind of how it's been going for a long, long time. If you really think about it, does it make, again, try to have an open mind. Does it really make sense that if you're one awesome buyer's agent, does it really make sense that you're gonna allow a seller and a seller's agent to decide how much money you make? I mean, it makes great sense if you're on the lower level of the common denominator of talent and professionalism and skill sets. But if you are on the upper end of the skill set and professionalism, experience, et cetera, why would you want some listing agent you don't know to tell you how much you're gonna make?
That's what we've done forever. We're just ingrained.
Yep, exactly right. Yep, that's exactly right. We do it because it's always been that way.
It's a different way of looking at it.
Well, like I said, when I had to email somebody and I go, what in the hell is an email? I just figured out the fax machine yesterday. Same thing, right? What's an internet? How's it going? I don't even know what it was. And then it evolves, and then we get used to it, and then we get into a habit, and then we think, and then it's kind of, and that's just kind of how it goes, Humpty Dumpty, right? Hey, this is the opportunity. And in that, let's just talk about the buyer agency agreement. Here's how I think it can go down, and I'm open to all kinds of ideas because this is a process. This isn't like, not rigid, but think about a couple things. First of all, so everything has always been negotiable. Right? That hasn't changed. If I sit down with somebody and maybe one idea is I have 3 levels. And this is just an idea. I have 3 different levels, and underneath these levels, this is a presentation. The presentation, the buyer consultation is super important now. It's more important than a listing agreement, or at least equally as important. They're both very, very important. So there's 3 different ways. You can call it, silver, gold, platinum. You can call it little, big, whatever. Call it 3 pigs. I don't care. You call it whatever you want to call it. BU times 2. Okay? Let's say one option is when I lay out all my service for you, you're like, yeah, I definitely don't want this one. I don't want this one. I want the one in the middle. All right. Okay, so each one of these is going to have a compensation program attached to it that you're going to explain. Because they're expectations. How many people remember when I used to come down here all the time and speak about expectations? Anybody remember what I used to say?
The death of something, I don't remember.
On the inside, usually when someone gets, get in a fight, in a relationship, or something goes sideways, it's usually because of unmet expectations. And they're usually unmet because you didn't have any, or you made assumptions about each other. And on the inside, it leads to like hurt feelings, disappointment. On the outside, it leads to things called litigation, hatred, vengeance, death. And what era? Went behind the woodshed on that one. So if we have clear expectations of yourself and of your client, and you articulate those very, very well and thoroughly, then you say, okay, well, there's going to be some options here. One option is the buyer pays you. Bottom line. How many people, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this way. Who would pay what buyer would pay a buyer's agent the commission? Give me an example.
Somebody
For
that's got a
sale
lot
by
of cash.
Not first time have money.
Yeah, not first time home buyers.
Yeah, not first time home buyers, but somebody that has the affluent, has some money.
Someone who's buying for sale by owner.
Somebody's buying a for sale by owner and wants that person to go the extra mile. So like, and this would be like, I'm gonna research all for sale by owners for you. That would be an example of an expectation. I'm gonna scour the internet every day. I'm gonna look at Zillow. I'm gonna look this. I'm gonna go to the neighborhoods and door knock for you because you want to be in Fancher Heights. I'm gonna go to the landowners and I'm gonna start sending direct mailers because you want to buy acreage. So whatever it is, okay, so there's an expectation
I backtrack just a second.
100%.
So is this premise based on you saying that sellers are no longer gonna be, disclosing buyer, commissions in listings? Is that the premise of this whole conversation?
This conversation is about examples of things that could happen because there's gonna be agents out there, I'm not saying you, but there's gonna be agents out there that don't, the MLS may not disclose the commission. And there's gonna be agents out there that list properties that don't offer openly a commission.
But if the MLS isn't, disclosing the commission, does that not mean that the sellers are still building it into the listing with their listing agent?
Some sellers will refuse to pay.
And you expect that to be a pretty good percentage?
I do.
Okay.
In the
I'm
beginning.
just looking for the whole
Yeah,
foundation
yeah,
of this.
thank you for that question,
Yeah.
Scott. In the beginning, I do because I believe there's a lot of very average realtors in this business. And if you go and say, I ain't paying no commission. Okay, find your, I mean, I just believe that's gonna happen because they don't know what to say. They're gonna be caught off guard. They're not gonna be trained. They're not gonna be paying attention to the standards in the industry as we rise. We are. We are gonna pay attention. Because there's gonna be a point in time where it's gonna be a requirement that we have high standards, be professionals. You know why? Remember last week or when I was 2 weeks ago when I talked about litigation? Man, these insurance companies are just crushing companies. They just make it impossible to do business. So we have to care about each other. Have to care about what we're doing to protect each other. So if somebody's giving all their colleagues a middle finger and just going out there as a rogue jet pilot, acting like it's 1987, which was a great year for me, by the way, I was a senior in high school. So I don't mind it, but it was different. There was no internet for once. So we can't do that. So number one, let's say that, I'll give you an example. I did a big deal, almost a double-digit $1 million deal, and I charged them 6%. You think that's possible? No. $10 million deal, 6%, that's a $600,000 commission. Think it's possible? It is. Why?
Value. You're adding at least $600,000 worth of value to this client.
Created something that couldn't be created by anybody else for 20 years. And many people tried to do it. So when someone says it's impossible, it's not true. One thing Keller Williams has taught me after 25 years of a small town, big fish, small town kind of mentality, is that anything is possible in real estate. You know, you do 100 deals, somebody did 10,000 deals with one assistant. What? You jump 2 feet off the ground, somebody jumped 5 feet off the ground. You know, like there's always, Keller Williams has taught me that in the world, anything is possible. Only our own limiting beliefs get in our way, or our desire to have a certain life. Okay, so that's one option. Number two, it might be like, okay, I'm gonna charge you X%. That's just it's negotiable, and we haven't set a policy yet. So maybe we will, maybe we won't over the next couple of months, as we have these conversations, as we watch. Let's say I get X% for representing you, and I'm gonna ask the seller to pay. And that's it. If they don't pay, you don't get a deal. And I tell you this up front because you're gonna have to, build it into the price. If nothing else. Because this contract guarantees me a certain amount of money. And the seller has to pay it, just like commercial. In the history of commercial real estate, it's kind of how it was done. You write an offer, have a buyer agency agreement, not unlike a listing agreement. You wouldn't take a listing with you, wouldn't go put a sign up and open houses and not have a listing agreement. Guess what the percentages in 2023, according to NAR, were deals that were represented by a buyer's agent? Any ideas?
With like an agreement?
Yeah, like of all the deals in 2023 of realtors, what percentage had buyer agents?
Maybe 10%. Yeah, oh no, like 90%.
Yeah,
He's
89%.
not talking about.
I might have said it wrong. Buyer agents, they had a buyer representative. So one example in the script, and we're gonna have a series of classes as we move between here and the time this most likely will go into effect, which will be like mid-July. On how to do this stuff, like repetitively, so we can really get confident, because everybody's capable. We just have to put in the effort, right? And we're gonna provide the tools as a brokerage for you to do that.
Buyers need agents more than sellers do.
And in some ways they do, yeah. It's all about that articulation, right? Because I can make an argument that a seller without a listing agent is a fool. I can make an argument that a buyer without a buyer's agent is a fool. But a buyer without a bad buyer's agent, it's nothing. Or a seller with a crappy listing agent might as well be on their own. Better to hire an attorney, right? So, so this is an option. Another option could be, I'm gonna get paid X%. And the seller will pay 1% of this 2.5, and the buyer picks up the difference. This is all in a potential contract. As you look at your services, as you sit down with the people, potentially, this is how this is gonna go down, right? Now, this is all about the buyer, and I have 25 minutes. How much money I got left? 12? Okay, 12 minutes. Okay, so this is fast and furious today, but the first Tuesday of May, I'm gonna get into this for a while. And we're gonna get into more about the actual language, the actual templates, the actual tools. So we can, kind of wade into the pool a little bit here, because this is new. But guess what, guys? Interest rates went up for everybody, right? This lawsuit affected everybody, right? Every brokerage in the business is scratching their head going, ah. Every one of these has a bunch of real estate agents. There's 1.6 million realtors in the business. In 2008, there was 800,000. Gary Keller at the beginning of 2023 said there's 2 million of y'all. He's from Austin. Okay, sellers. When you sit with a seller, it's about what? It's about your value proposition. Okay, so if I sit with a seller and I go, guess what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put it in the MLS and I'm gonna put a sign up. And they say, well, I want some flyers. This actually happened. Bullshit. I'm printing no flyers. You think I am? Kiko's? I want 3%. Would you do an open house? Are you kidding me? Everything's done online. People don't talk to each other anymore. Why would they do that? That's stupid. I want 3%. What exactly you're gonna do for 3%? I'm putting the MLS. Put a sign up. It's a true story about it.
You had a client who said that this just happened to them?
100%.
Oh, sad.
That's a big deal. What if I told you it was like a $50 million deal?
No way.
True story, right? True story. Won't say any names. We don't have a listing yet. But, okay, so.
You killed the pen.
For a little.
You stab him.
Somebody told me that. Who's making fun of me? You were making fun of me when I was doing.
I was looking at, I put that plywood day and I knew I should have ordered more pens.
I got my own. I don't trust.
We can use that.
Okay, number 2, we're gonna do this stuff. So I'm gonna build flyers, I'm gonna do a website, I'm gonna do a direct mailer, I'm gonna do open houses, I'm gonna have on-site sits, I'm gonna.
Luxury
Give sign.
syndication.
Yeah, I'm gonna talk about signs, I'm gonna break down the signs, I'm gonna have directionals. So this is a fast and furious approach. We're gonna go through this very slow and methodical with the templates. But try to imagine, and then it's gonna be this, and then they're gonna go, well, I ain't paying no buyer's agent. Okay, well, let's talk about that. What was the percentage last year of buyer's agents?
89.
89%. Okay, I'm cool with it. So here's what we'll do. I'm not a fan of dual agency anymore. You know why? I used to be a big time fan of dual agency. Big time. Why do it anymore? Buyer's a company. You know, you can just represent the seller, write up the deal on behalf of both, but you're only working for the seller because, and they just mark unrepresented buyer.
Yeah.
Then you get paid. Remember in RCW 1886, compensation, which is the agency law, RCW 1885 is license law. RCW 1886 says compensation and representation are mutually exclusive. So I might say something like, I'll tell you what, if I'm not doing an open house, a buyer walks in, I ask them if they have an agent, they say no. I say, great, let's buy it. I'm gonna charge you 1%. Or I'm gonna charge you 1.5%, or I'm gonna charge you $5,000. We haven't developed a policy yet. We're gonna, a minimum, not a maximum. I'm okay if you want to charge more. Are you guys okay with charging more? But in this case, we outline expectations. Under what scenario do I pay what? What are you gonna do? What am I gonna do in this relationship? What are the boundaries? And you have to play red light, green light. Markets shift, so it's not predictable. So if something's happening and we priced it here and we realize, man, there's 4 more condos that just hit the market, or 4 more acreage pieces that just hit the market, they're in actually a better location. We need to talk. You have to over communicate like any relationship to be successful, not under communicate. You have to clearly communicate. Is there more work involved in real estate than there used to be? Now, what was the rate when it was at its lowest? 2.8? Interest rate.
Oh, yeah, like 2.75.
2.5. Is it different now? Different. Buyers have a little different mindset, don't they? Do you know that when I was in the heyday before 2008, you didn't even have to tell them how much you made? You could just literally walk in and go, I have a 640 credit score and I'm a professional. I'd like $1 million. And they said, okay. That kind of led to a great recession because people didn't pay back loans, but that's how easy it was. You just had a pulse, you got a loan. So this isn't the first time something has happened, right? We had to go from banks to no banks for 3 years. Wasn't an appraisal worth looking at for 3 years because banks were out of business, 80% of them. Got pretty good at owner financing about that time. So here's the deal. Another situation is a buyer comes to the table, and when you're talking about a price, there's 100%, right, of sales price. I asked a guy the other day, I said, if I got $1 million, your listing is $1 million, would you take 995,000 cash? Or would you take full price? Yeah. I go, would you pay me 6%? Yep. Because you take 94%, right? Yeah. That's the flexibility of the negotiation in the contract. So don't you think as a seller, again, try to be open-minded. It's not what we've always done. We're going home with a different guy. And brought it to the bank. Okay, so don't you think the price and the terms of the offer should have something to do with the value? Whether the buyer's agent does a good job, doesn't do a good job, is professional, isn't professional, never answers the phone, always answers the phone.
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, well, it's gonna be because we're gonna cut the herd down. What's gonna happen is people are gonna go out of business because they're not gonna be professional, and it's not gonna work anymore. It's not gonna happen overnight, but I promise you, in 90 days, there will be a lot less real estate brokers than there is today, and in 6 months, less than that. And then we're gonna get back to what it should be, which is a professional industry full of professionals. Not all the same, not all working 27 or 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying what you do it professionally. That's all. You understand, you pay attention, you learn. You don't just go like this when you're doing continuing ed. How many people have done that?
Come on, be honest.
Yeah, it goes that way.
Yeah, that's not. Those are the good old days. Now you know what good old days mean. All right, so if the offer comes in, let's say the seller says, I'll offer 1%. That's it. Everything's else negotiable. Because any offer, if I accept it, is worth at least 1%. Now, this is where the conversation between your value proposition and your expectations of the future really matter. Because you got to predict these things before they happen. How many times have you sold a house and you're like, can I have a washer and dryer when you make an offer and they go, no, okay, and then they buy the house? Versus you accidentally checked washer and dryer and the seller took it. And it was a piece of shit washer and dryer anyway, but the buyer loses their mind. They were gonna buy a new one anyway, but it was a shot. They stole my washer and dryer. It's included in the because it wasn't their expectation. So most things, if you communicate about them, are not a problem. The other day, I ate my wife's last little pint of ice cream.
You're still
I've been
here.
married 2 years now. I was single for 20 and married 10 before that. That's a bad idea. It's just a bad. So you know what I did? I went and bought like 50 pints of ice cream. So it'll never happen.
Nothing else will fit in the freezer.
And two
You're
shots-
still in trouble.
Yeah, and I'm still in trouble, but I'm doing my best. I did know when to say I was sorry. I forgot to go to the store. I ate my ice cream. So sometimes when it's done, it's done. But if you cover it, if I would have thought ahead and bought more ice cream in the first place, I could have eaten all the ice cream at once.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't about the ice cream.
It wasn't yours.
It wasn't mine. I didn't have to. Yeah, it was selfish. I was
I
hungry.
can just hear it now too. I'm trusting.
She had a pretty good sense of humor about when I brought up about this much ice cream. She smiled. She didn't want to smile, but she smiled. And some flowers, and some dark chocolate. This one that said 72%. Okay, so the whole idea, that's a good example of sellers. Like we have to talk to sellers about what's going to happen. How about another example is, let's talk about this. Do you want to incentivize 89% of the people that represent buyers that have done deals in the last 12 months, or do you want to disincentivize them? What would you like to do? It's up to you. I mean, you could just have me. I'm cool with that. I make a little more money. I'm cool with that. Or do you want 10,000 other real estate brokers to be excited about it? So here's one of the things I did, guys. I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Who knows Mark Cuban, truck tank guy?
Yeah.
Owns the Dallas Mavericks. He also owns a company called Cost Plus Drugs, a startup company. Do you guys know about that?
Yeah.
He's just making it transparent. He's making the cost of pharmaceuticals transparent, unlike Pfizer, for example. So I bought this domain the other day. Cost Plus Realty. .com. So one of my ideas, not sure I'll use it, cost me $22 to do that.
That's only $22 for that?
Yep.
That's surprising.
So no, so what I'm thinking is, maybe, because you can have a website that discloses what your sellers are willing to pay. The MLS just can't. The MLS cannot put it in the remarks. You can't sneak it in. You can't they'll catch you on that stuff. They're redoing the code of ethics as we speak because of this settlement.
I mean, if that were the case, what if we were just to call the listing agent, before we're getting ready to show 4 homes and go, hey, what's your seller willing to pay?
That's what they're basically telling us.
Yeah, that's
What
what,
about broker only remarks? Cause they're not customer facing.
yeah, they're gonna stop you on all that stuff. Here's the problem with that, Skip. If they find out you do that and the buyer finds out you do that, you've just violated your fiduciary obligation.
Are you saying if we don't show?
You don't show a house that could have been the house for your
I'm
buyer.
not even going that far. I'm just getting pricing.
Yeah, no,
I hear you, and it's gonna happen.
Why is that a breach of fiduciary?
Only if you don't show the houses that don't have lower commissions.
Cause you're picking and choosing based off of.
That's why you got sued in the first place. Because we were commingling, we were discriminating against buyers, that could have bought this listing because the sellers were offering not enough. So they want to camouflage it. What's weird about the law and the settlement is that it's only for the MLS. It's technically only for the association doing MLS. I believe Northwest MLS is gonna follow suit. So, but we can advertise it. We can use carrier pigeons. We can use smoke signals. We can yell from the rooftops. We can have a website. So I was thinking, hey, maybe we do this and we tell our sellers that want to capture this, we have this website. Maybe it's inside of our company website. Maybe it's a separate website and it's voluntary. The seller doesn't have to participate. But if I was a seller and I can sell why you would want to do it, then I would say, let's advertise a massive commission. Let's think ahead because we're not in a seller's market anymore. Let's think ahead. Let's get more competitive. Let's incentivize people to be professional for us. That's just a different angle, right? So I'm gonna sit down and have a conversation. Somebody else gonna sit down. Yeah, I would pay a buyer's agent shit. But how much you want for it? $1 million is worth $500,000? Yeah, I'll list that. How much you want to pay me? Nothing. Okay, I'll put that, you know what that's called? Buying a listing. You know what? Why would you buy a listing? Why do people do it? I know one, it's $2.5 million over what it should be in Chelan. Been for sale for 2.5 years. Why would they do that?
Something to advertise, you get some buyers calling every once in a while.
Got a billboard. And I tell sellers, look, if you want somebody to tell you what you want to hear, I can probably point you in the right direction. If you go to a doctor and you have a compound fracture and they have to remove your spleen and all those good things, and you tell them how to do it and the doctor listens, you have the wrong doctor. You know why? Because you're not one. And you can't be cocky like this that I am. But you get my point, right? If you articulate your value and you start to communicate with your people at a high level, and again, everybody's capable of this. Everybody's capable of adding their own authenticity to it in their own way. And we're going to help provide over the next couple of months, more and more training around this, right? So I could see me going against somebody that says, yeah, 0% is fine. That's fine. I just had a deal where it was that big project. They were like, yeah, we don't pay anything. Except we'll pay full. I said, well, if I bring you a full price deal, you pay a full commission of 6% on $1 million. 60 grand. Yeah. If I want to hold events and I want to have food and booze and, whatever, baby elephants, And they go, yeah, we'll pay for baby elephants. Hell yeah, we love that idea. We'll sponsor pickleball tournaments and this, and we have our agents and we take care of everybody. We have, yeah, I'll do that. Let's do that. I'll pay 6%. Let's do that. See, most people don't know what they don't know. That's why we're the professional. That's why we're gonna train like professionals. Because I believe in 1 year, you're gonna see 90% of the people in the industry being professionals. And everybody else out of business.
Can you ask a seller to pay you 6% and then you're giving 3% to the buyer's agent?
Well, that's a good point, because that's what we do now.
Yeah.
The money that comes in now, people think, well, the seller pays the buyer's agent. No, they pay the listing agent.
Yeah.
And then the listing agent chooses to give half of it or whatever the number is. So it's a misconception.
I thought that changed in January because our forms split it up.
We were,
Yeah.
yeah, we were ahead of the curve knowing this lawsuit was coming.
Most people in other states have, okay, what you're saying.
Yeah, and it's still kind of, technically, we're still listing agent setting the commission. We're getting paid, and on settlement statement, we're giving it based on that agreement. Kind of the same, but yeah, now it's changing. Now it's decoupling. The decoupling just means we're separating. And we're gonna outline what we do for a living and how much we're gonna charge and why. The more articulate you are, the better chance you're gonna get paid. Now, is there gonna be a bunch of people out there that, well, in the real estate business, think about it, 90 hours, you get a license. You know, it takes longer to be a beautician legally. So we kind of did this to ourselves, where the perception of 27,000 podcasts are telling you don't need a real estate agent. Why pay them? Now, we all know there's a lot of reasons why we should, but they don't. So we have to learn how to articulate. I had the worst listing presentation probably in my life about a month ago. I was busy. And a guy that I knew me for 25 years hired his cousin to work for me. She's still working in the industry, but she was 17. This was like 25 years ago. I said, I'm Russ McClellan. It's $8.99. I charge 6%. Sign here. That's about how bad it was. Then you get the listing. You know why? My arrogance and my lack of ability to focus because I was spread too thin. He hasn't listed with anybody yet, so I still have a shot at the title, but I just thought about it and I asked Desiree, my assistant, licensed assistant, I go, how was that? She said, well, your best work. There's probably more to it than you and the money and that's it, you know. It was just a bad, it's just like anything. You can't be rude. You can't be an arrogant ass. Hey, sweetheart, want a date? Let's go out.
You should smile more.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just not good. Anyway, smart. Smart. Almost said something. Okay. Anyway, that's kind of what I have for today. It's about over time limit unless you have questions.
Do you have a link to where you found that 89% statistic that you could send, or is that in the things you sent?
To YouTube, just BANAR. I can get
What is
it.
it? Okay, yeah, if you could send it, that would be sweet.
Yeah, there's a lot of those kind of stats out there that really are helpful when you start to really talk about what you do. Anybody else have anything? Deb, you have anything for me?
Actually, I think it was also in the Keller Williams notes from Family Reunion. Gary Keller talked about it.
cool.
Yeah, so you're gonna be able to see that.
Yeah, there's a lot of podcasts, guys. The thing about podcasts is you just get like media in general. You gotta be careful. Gotta kind of go in with an open mind. Not everybody, they all have a different take on ideology on it or angle, and that's okay, right? That's okay. This is why we're all self-employed. You know, we don't work for the post office. There's not just one way of doing this business. And between now and July, I need this involvement to help us craft the right way of doing the business at this business at KW.
Yeah.
And there's a range there. It's not one size fits all.
Want to pull another number out, Aaron, for me?
Yeah.
Number 8.
Thank you for being here. Your time's valuable. I really appreciate it.
No, I can buy that from you. For that if you want.
That's always good. So you can always call me. Remember, Marshall works 9 to 5, 9:30 to 5, 5:30, has weekends off. So I'm struggling a little bit with the office out email for some reason. We're trying to fix it. because I'm not getting all of them. So you might CC me in the meantime, so I make sure I get it, or text me, 911, call me. Unless I'm like asleep.
That works best.
I went to sleep at 8:50 last night, I got up at 1:45. So between like 3 and 8, I'm good. But from like 8 to 3, I'm not so good. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rick.
Oh, look at all.
Like, they're always making happy.